This is the Aptitude Outdoors podcast, where we interview travelers, explorers, and outdoorsmen and women to bring you the best tips and stories from around the world. Matt, Killam, Ashley, Smith, you guys are here on my wonderful, amazing, only outdoors podcast in Toledo as far as I'm aware of. And I'm super stoked that you guys came out today. Like, the parks are like the place to go do stuff in Northwest Ohio. I mean, like, Toledo Metroparks is like the place. You kayak, you do all things that I like to do. A little backstory is Ashley used to be my boss.
That's
so
right.
we had this very similar like scenario, except for it was a job interview, and I was like scared out of my mind. She made me do a presentation about like plastic pollution or something. I was
It was good.
So it was
legendary.
His resume was awful, though.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
yeah. I guess everything's the gloves are coming off.
That's actually
exactly how she talks to me.
Well, it's amazing because that phrase, that your resume is the worst resume I've ever seen, actually made me learn how to write a resume.
Yeah, it was great.
My resume
I helped him
now
a lot.
is
Okay.
Totally.
I went to your house and you helped me rewrite it because you were like, "This is god awful."
Whenever people give me bad advice or say something negative, I always go to their house.
Yeah.
See? Yeah. Thank you.
I've been over there
that night usually.
Yeah.
So thank you for
and now we're friends.
the life
How about
advice.
it? Yeah, full circle.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, and the show's over.
We're actually
Thanks for
holding
having
hands
us.
now, everyone.
You what?
We're holding hands now.
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
You can't tell, but
Well, there are cameras, but
Well.
that's not important. So you guys are here. You're on my turf this time, Paul's show. I know you guys are going to promote something at some point, but I really want to get your stories of like the backgrounds. And I mean, we'll tell both stories. I've actually not done a two-person podcast yet. You guys are breaking in new territory for me today. But like, let's start with you, Matt.
Yeah.
Since I don't know you as well as Ashley,
Yep.
because I literally just met you right now.
Worst mistake of your life.
No, it's been great so far. What's your background? Were you always been a nature guy?
The answer to that is really no. I grew up really in Wildwood, though. My grandparents lived on Waldmar, which is about 4 streets west of the park, and they built that house there in the 50s, so they played in that when it was the Stranahan property. My parents got divorced, so I spent a lot of time at that house, for at least one day a week, and we would play, my grandfather and I, at the park. So I wouldn't say I was necessarily always like outdoor rec oriented, but parks and green space and that sort of communal time has always been medicinal to our family. And that's a pretty sacred place for me. Mm-hmm. Being with the park system even more so, a couple things, one of which is everyone has like their own park, right? So on my worst day at Wildwood, I know there's probably 50 to 1,000 kids having the same experience with their grandparents that I did. Mm-hmm. And it sounds trite, but it's true. You can do a lot of things professionally and not have a real impact or not feel like you're part of something bigger than you are. So I guess my road has been kind of strange in terms of being a park professional. I was in the hospitality business. I owned a couple bars in Chicago. So my family's joke is that I'm sort of cleansing myself of sin by doing this.
I haven't heard that yet.
Yeah.
Good.
So they're terrible people. Just
Bar owners
nightmares.
or people from Chicago?
That's a whole different show. But the answer to that is yes, and include my family.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, so that makes me a little bit of an anomaly, I guess. But the product itself and its importance to a community was obvious to me. I was at the Botanical Garden after I changed careers and moved back here. I have 2 daughters, and the idea of them playing in that space, I can't tell you how warming that is to me. It really does make a difference. You don't have to just hunt or climb or ride bikes, although those things have become more important in my life than I would have ever imagined. Right. But just being outdoors is medicinal, and there isn't a lot of it left. So I feel lucky to be a part of it, and I get to work with a lot of people who are mission-based. I tell this to more people often now than I ever thought I would before. But when Metroparks is fully staffed, we have about 225 people on staff through seasonals. I like 200 of them. But the remaining 25 who I don't like, and I have their names, it'll be on your website, are like mission-focused people. So even though dealing with them might make you want to beat your brains in, they really care about what people experience while at their park. And I'll take that 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
So Ashley, I want the history. I want the full like pre-dreadlock Ashley. I've seen the pictures. I want to know, growing up, were you always like a nature nerd, nature freak?
Yeah, totally. My family grew up in the Oak Openings region, so we were probably 3 miles from Oak Openings and barely ever went there. My parents owned, I don't know, like 2 acres, but behind us there weren't houses. It was just more woods. It just wasn't our property, but we wandered on it all the time. We have basically a vernal pool in our backyard, which means that it's filled with mosquitoes, mostly mosquitoes, but also like salamanders and frogs and just so much stuff. And so I spent the majority of my time just playing outside and not coming in ever. So it was just like, I'm bored, Mom. What am I going to do today? Go outside.
Yeah.
And
I
don't want to see you
sounds?
again. Yeah, just like that.
Yeah.
We can verify. We'll get her in here.
So like they had specifically this brick sidewalk that they put in themselves, so it wasn't professional, and I lifted up like every single one of those bricks and I found so many worms and salamanders, and yeah, so that was, but the thing was, we never went camping or like we went on a couple like hiking trips, but it was always paired with like Great Smoky Mountains paired with like Pigeon Forge and like the
tourist trappy,
like just madness. So I remember there was like a very vivid moment in my childhood where we went to Roche de Boux, the festival, really great festival.
Changed your life.
Changed my life.
Never been the same.
And
since.
I had my $10 of allowance.
Ooh,
yeah,
big money.
And I bought this green like canvas army tent from a garage sale because it was exactly $10.
Yeah.
I had no idea if it had all of the parts or anything. Didn't know how to put it up. Didn't know how bad it smelled.
Oh
yeah,
when I
used
bought
gear.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. And so I made them put it up in the backyard, and it killed the grass, and it was a disaster.
Were your
Nobody
folks outdoor people?
ever actually slept in it with me.
Yeah.
But I did.
Yeah, all
and
right.
that's all that matters.
Sure. Sort of a sad tale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lonely camping in the
Yeah.
But
backyard.
I mean, well, I guess the whole point of the story is that I had always been just drawn to it, but nobody else like helped me along in this area.
Right.
And my friends from high school, when we get together, they talk about they first guess each other's nail polish color. Okay.
That's one of my favorite pastimes.
Yep.
I do with
And
my
then
friends.
they talk about each other's purses, comment on purses
Sure.
and the deals that they got or how much they paid, which was an enormous amount of money.
Yeah. Now, did they buy those purses at the festival you bought your tent
I
at?
have no idea.
hard to say.
Oh no, not
Yeah,
Roche.
okay. Just- yeah.
A little classier than that.
Do you show off your tent though?
Yeah. Did you make a purse out of your tent?
But then
Smelly old canvas.
third ritual of when we get together is they comment and they tell stories about these people that turns out I don't know because they're celebrities. They're
Sure.
gossiping about celebrities. So after high school, my childhood like had no other people in my life that cared about outside like I did. Until I got to college, I went to BG and I found the BGSU outdoor program and I was like, oh my gosh, these are my
There's Mecca,
people.
right?
Yeah. So there were people who wanted to go backpacking and do crazy stuff outside and I was like, okay, I get that.
I didn't realize how similar our stories were because
Really?
like my childhood story is the same.
Okay.
Like we grew up in southeastern Michigan, Ida,
Yeah.
in a 10-acre woodlot, and like there was no option. It was just you're outside.
Yeah.
Like that's all there
Yeah.
is to it. It's either that or you play video games, which I'm plenty guilty of, of myself. But I didn't know anybody else that had that experience. They all
Yeah.
were just like city kids. I'm just out here like my dad made me cut wood this weekend. Like it wasn't a choice. Like I had to.
Right, it's
It
just
was
part of
part of
it.
it. So it's funny that you say that because
Yeah.
it's like I'm hearing my own story play through. I'm not going to repeat it again because I've already said it 4 times on this podcast. But it's so awesome. And like, was there a turning point for either of you where you're kind of like, man, this is what I need to do for a career? Because not many people get to do what you're doing as a
Right.
career,
Yeah.
and especially in Northwest Ohio, like.
Right.
We all know those jobs are limited, few and far between. They're just like competitive because like
Sure.
the field of people that want to do it. But how did you know like this is it and I'm going to commit? Because you commit. You're the one. You're
Oh,
the
yeah.
ones that are working in the field. Like you had to make a choice. Like I'm here.
Right. I know what mine was.
Go ahead.
So I was actually, before I started working at Metroparks, I was dispatching ambulances. It sucked.
Yeah, sure.
It was horrible. But it was like a very like cozy. I even got first shift right off the bat. Like I didn't have to work up to first shift. I got first shift and dispatching ambulances. I had a full-time job. I was officially an adult. And I had
Sounds
vacation
terrible.
time. Yeah, I had vacation time and benefits and stuff like that. It was a really good job. And I quit to become a part-time seasonal person that worked camp for Toledo Metroparks.
Beautiful. So the pay cut was a little drastic. on
I
that
didn't
one.
care.
No.
Yeah.
Well, how old were you?
It didn't. I don't know.
Like 20,
Time flies.
20
so
something?
no,
19?
well, yeah, 20 something. I mean, I was probably like 24, 25.
That's the time to do it.
Did you walk
Sure.
out on like a single call?
No, I mean, I gave my proper 2 weeks.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, sure.
We're professionals here.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Some of us. Matt, when was your turning point?
I think I moved from my former life to the botanical garden actually, and I think I wasn't married yet, but my then girlfriend, now wife, moved here, and I don't know. I was working 100 hours a week. I wasn't seeing the family that I moved back to see more of. We're pretty close.
At the bar you were working on? Or
Yeah, and all throughout Michigan, which is a longer story. Like the end of the movie back here, had a lot of different irons on, so I was kind of spread out. But I not only did I want to have more time for a quality of life component, but I've always thought of Toledo as home, and I've moved and lived in sort of a lot of places, but I never considered those places mine. Mm-hmm. So I guess romantically, I always had an idea of having a family. And raising children, not only in the neighborhood I grew up in, but having some of the same experiences. So when the Botanical Garden and the Metroparks merged, it was offered to me to come over and continue my same job, which is at that time was a marketing director. And I couldn't say no. I think not only was it building on such an important part of like everyone's lives that I knew in the area, but I thought we were on the precipice of doing even more. We get 5 million people to visit the parks, or 5 million visits annually, and that's a considerable amount, and everybody can come. And this isn't a knock on the other institutions, but some of the other high quality of life things here are cost prohibitive. So being a part of something that is free, or some crummy tent can make you a part of it, is something I could dedicate my life to. And the people I work with make it pretty great.
Well, and so from my perspective, growing up, I mean, we'd go to the parks. My grandma lives right up the road here. We're like over by Reynolds and Airport area, or
Sure.
Reynolds and whatever this road is. I don't
You
know.
could tell them anything, they won't know.
Yeah, they don't know. But my grandma grew up right on that Swan Creek property. I think you guys the parks just bought it or was given it by the Andersons or something.
Yeah.
Something along that. Her property is up against that.
Sure.
So we were always playing out there as a kid.
Nice.
We'd go to Swan Creek and she'd take us to the park. But I grew up in Michigan. We weren't there that often.
Right.
And then I moved to Ohio as an adult, and I got the seasonal job at Metroparks. And I was literally like, I did not know that any of this stuff I could do. And like, I've always been an outdoorsy kind of guy. And I've always went camping and hiking and all this stuff. We used to drive down to Hocking Hills and the summers, and me and my buddies, and just hang out. But I didn't know we could go kayaking here. I didn't know we could go canoeing. And at the time, the outdoor skills program was just kind of taking off. Like you guys had a couple seasons under your belt, and I just happened to find it online. And I was like, I'm applying for this.
Yeah.
And you guys kind of rocked my world because I didn't I didn't know what a paddleboard was. I had no concept. Now my wife has one, and it's in my garage. It's taking up space. We got 2 kayaks. I got road bikes, mountain bikes. I mean, I got a garage full of more outdoor equipment.
It's a little addicting.
I know.
Yeah.
And you guys were like the catalyst for that. I mean, I'm sure at some point after thousands of dollars down the drain, I would have figured it out or something.
Sure.
But doing that summer job was like I got to do all of that every day.
Right.
And it was crazy. Like one day I'm kayaking, one day I'm taking people backpacking, and
I get paid for this.
Yeah, right.
And the great thing that I see with the parks is you're making it accessible to people in Northwest Ohio who generally aren't really driven to these activities.
Sure.
Because
Right.
you go to the East Coast, up and down the mountains or out west, and that's just like what people do. Like, oh, we're going kayaking this weekend. Oh, we're going to go run up a mountain. You know,
Right.
out here, like, yeah, we'll go to the park and go to the playground. But now it's like this explosion of activity.
Yeah, I think you said two things are important. One of which is just from a work standpoint. Both of my parents are attorneys. Most of my family practices law to some degree, and so those are the careers I knew. Mm-hmm. And I was a pretty crummy student, frankly. So being kind of a round peg in a square hole, it's nice to find something that was not only rewarding, but like, okay, it is okay to have the interests that I have.
Yeah.
And getting back and being a part of that is a feel good. So you grow up with kind of getting your brains bashed in to get C's and things like that. You're like, oh, good. Yeah. What am I going to do? I'm a failure at both of these things. But there's a lot of stuff to do. And not your two stories are ones that I think the Metroparks is proud of. Like you found a home there and found some meaning in a place that was right for you.
Well, and can you give us kind of like the background? I know you were somewhat intertwined with the creation of that outdoor skills program. And like, what was that process like? Because it kind of just came out of nowhere. Like, I mean, it's not like it's amazing what you get, and you're continuing to expand it. Like, every time I look online, it's like, now we're doing this. Oh, we're climbing trees now. Oh, we're like, the amount you're going to, we'll talk about that later. We're get the backpacking trips. But, like, what was the catalyst for all this? Like,
I hope you're not humble here. You should be.
Yeah. I want to,
passion based.
You're the foundation of
Absolutely.
some of these awesome things that are going on.
I mean, yeah, truly, that's a big part of it. So being seasonal, I worked camp, so I didn't really have much time to, as a seasonal, you're just kind of doing all of the things, and you don't have time to, I don't know, for any of that extra stuff. There's just camp and camp and camp,
Right.
and that's pretty much it. And that's all that I really expected to get out of my employment at Metroparks. I was hoping it would go somewhere further, but there was definitely no guarantee. And so towards the end of the season, there was opportunity to be hired on as it would be part-time year-round as a programmer. Great, I get to stay for those extra 3 months or whatever in the winter. I did not do well in that interview at all.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me feel better as the person who
You should use your
interviewed.
resume, Paul.
Like everybody else.
Your name is Paul? That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody else in that like group of people that work summer camp together was getting a year-round job except for me.
Right.
And I felt so stupid because I was like kind of a leader within that group, but I just interviewed horribly. And so I ended up talking to Dave Zank, who is the director now. He was not the director then. I can't remember what his title was.
The assistant
then.
director.
The assistant director.
Something like that.
I can't really remember.
Head groundskeeper at Benview, I think.
Yeah, that was
he
probably
excelled.
it. Yeah.
He was a standout out there. That parking lot doesn't take care of itself.
So I came to that.
Your words, Dave.
That head groundskeeper office.
Yeah.
It's only funny if you know where that is.
That's right.
Go check it out.
Yeah, so we'll be on
Yeah.
location next time.
Perfect.
It's amazing. It is.
Do one in the big shelter out there. That would be fun.
Yeah, the shelter is sweet. So anyways, I went to his office and there was no like agenda, and I'm just like not just a seasonal employee, because seasonals are obviously extremely important, but like kind of at the time that's how I was feeling.
Yeah.
I'm just a seasonal employee. I'm not really sure what Dave and I are going to be talking about.
Right.
And he didn't have an agenda either, so I just started spouting my ideas off and like, Dave, like, we only do like 3 canoe paddles every year. Like, that's the extent of our outdoor recreation. There's so much more we could do. We could get kayaks, we could get stand-up paddle boards. Like, we need to do backpacking trips, like archery. There's just so much that we can do. And I was like, and I can do it. Like, give it to me. I can do it. And so then I magically got another interview. I did much better in that time. So I got the year-round job, and then eventually they were going to split it into 3 areas, which was interpretation, which had to do a lot more with the history of the parks, and then environmental education, which is what I was doing, and then this new area, outdoor skills, which is what I interviewed for to be the manager position. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what you always think when you get a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm assuming I'll be in the office a little bit more. Like, I kind of don't really know what I'm doing.
That's how all good things start.
That's right.
But I interviewed and I got it and I accepted it. I was really on the fence, even
Sure.
when Dave was like, yeah, we'd love to offer you the position. I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I took it and it's been like 5 years now, which
that?
is crazy. And we just made stuff up.
Right.
I mean, Amanda Damalski is one of my great staff members, and she's pretty much been there with me since the beginning. And we just trial and error with everything. And we do things a lot differently than we did before. And we've fine-tuned it quite a bit, and we have a really cool, really good thing going.
Absolutely. Well, I think the willingness to try things, I mean, like building a single track mountain bike trail in arguably the flattest place on earth isn't intuitive to most. But those things are gateway drugs.
Yeah.
Also, too, I think to all of you's credit, being willing to let's try this out, and after saying, okay, that was a disaster, we can sort of reconfigure this because 10 years ago or so, and this isn't a criticism, we offered pretty much just nature walks,
Right.
Which people loved. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think one thing is certainly changing, and the two of you are a testament to that, is people are interested in what it is we do. People, not my age, but younger than me, are making life decisions based on the amenities around the cities that they might live in. So it's a popular time, but you have to be approachable, like the two of you are.
Totally.
So you could just go ahead.
Well, I was going to say the whole reason that I got into the outdoors is because I could do stuff out there. So, like, I didn't care about the birds or the bats or...
People getting ambulances anymore.
Right.
Yeah, you just didn't care.
Exactly.
That's right. They'll figure it out. Yeah.
But I didn't, like, I squished so many bugs and, like, dissected so many frogs and, like... But now that I can do stuff in that space, like, I care about that stuff now and I care about preserving it. So I know that a lot of times environmental education would be like, well, don't catch the frog because it will stress them out.
That's exactly
Which
what they
is
sound
not,
like, too.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, it is.
It is what they care about, and it is like they're very responsible.
Yeah.
And that's kind of saying that I'm irresponsible, but in a sense, like,
Yeah,
but now,
no.
but now I really care for those things,
Sure.
and I really care for those spaces. So, our angle was, people will care about their spaces if we can get them out there and doing something in it.
Yeah, I mean, people do care about what they've had experiences in. So, I mean, internally, and admittedly, I live in sort of the vacuous space of marketing a lot, but we do say let's duping people into caring. So if we have to build a mountain bike track through the Oak Openings or a treehouse village to get them to care about it, because we've been trying to give, or people have been trying to deliver the Oak Openings global relevance for a millennia. And the reality is it's just difficult content for people to consume, like the average person. But if you're out there, you play with your grandfather, you're squishing bugs, you're part of a death metal concert out there. Yeah. We don't
Sign
care.
it up.
Yeah. And we would. We will do almost anything within the realm of responsibility to get people outside and to care at all about the space we're pretty blessed to live in and steward.
Well, the amazing thing to me is, so, like, working there was a catalyst, okay? So it started... I live by Oak Openings. I'm out there probably 3-4 days a week when it's not dark at 4 p.m. or
Sure.
4:30.
Right.
And the amount of things I learned in one summer was more than I had cumulatively learned in 25 years at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was outside all the time.
Sure.
I could do stuff. I could backpack and read maps and all this, but, like, I don't know what bird that is.
Yeah.
I don't even think I knew what a great blue heron was when I started there. I was just like, I don't know.
Yeah. Hey, if we're going to talk about birds, I'm leaving.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
We did. No, I did that with Kelly yesterday for
Thank
the
God.
TV show.
Yeah. All right. We're back. This is very comfortable. I have a pretty funny story about that. Go ahead.
Birds are not my specialty, but just like I remember for my training, Ashley made me do a mock nature walk with her, and I was terrible. She's like, "What's this?" I was like, "I don't don't know.
That's right. Stop yelling
you
at
tell
me.
me.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be telling me.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is.
Sure.
Like, I didn't know what poison ivy was. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And like now talking with people from the park so much for the show, everything I do, friends, all of my friends are from the parks now. Like you mentioned Amanda.
And Paul, you chose to move by Oak Openings based on your love of the outdoors?
We'll say that. Yeah. No, actually that's
it really
More
helps
so
the show.
convenience.
Yeah, that's right. It really helps the show's theme.
I moved there for my pure love of Oak Openings.
My man.
And it just happened to be close to where it was.
Sure.
But yeah, either way.
Secondary.
But no, like the parks is a super huge catalyst, and like I'm glad, and you being the marketing director, the video you guys are putting out, the content you're putting out, the pictures you're putting out, all the stuff, all the like is so great because that's all I do. That's
right.
that,
and you do a nice
like,
job of it.
I don't claim to be some like marketing wizard or anything. I just everything I do is everything I do is just outdoors, Northwest Ohio, basically, like because that's all I care about, and I didn't care about it until I had that experience in the parks. I was the guy, the biggest proponent of like get me out of Toledo now.
Sure.
Right.
But now, like I don't really want to move. I don't really have any desire to go anywhere.
And I felt the same way too. I was like, I'm like, get me to the mountains.
Yeah.
And you went, right? You went.
And I did. Yeah. We lived in Alaska for a year. We lived in Michigan for a year. Pretty quickly, my nephew was born. And so we moved back. And then I dispatched and then I found the parks. But same thing. Like I grew up here and I knew nothing that I know now.
I agree.
I didn't care at all about anything until I started working for the Metroparks. And it was like, oh my gosh, there's so much that I don't know, that I didn't know, that people need to know.
Right.
And so I love doing what I do.
And you know, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that like that when that spot thing happened, people went insane. If you go on Instagram right now and you type in that, it's like thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures.
Right.
And I know in the past you're kind of a little bit like, it's not native. We don't really want to promote this stuff. But then it just like it seems like you guys kind of just went like, just go for it. And like,
some of us did.
It's well, and I don't mean to be like to make contention or anything, but it's like
not at all.
That's such a crazy thing. If you type in Oak Openings, that's it. That's all you find.
Right.
Sure. And that's when I go out there, I specifically do not go to the spot more than like once in a long. If I need some likes, I'll hit up the spot. But other than that,
I'll tell you what, man. Though you can't. What you brought up something important, and we don't always get to pick how people are interacting with the outdoors.
Right.
And the spot represents a challenge from a communicative component. But that's more of a PR problem than it is a marketing problem. Yeah. So it's not really on my desk. So I just keep sending thousands of people out there. But it is an opportunity to talk about that space. And again, the Oak Openings in general. Ashley's team, as well as all programming and actually all 225, like we provide a shell for you to decide how you want to interact with the outside, or we'll give you a 101 or the framework for discovery. And then it's your job to explore and experiment. We are just a ways to get to that means.
Well, I think like, and you know, from the outside perspective, you guys do what you do as an organization to get people to parks.
Right.
And I've heard a lot of like, oh, this treehouse thing, like it seems like there's a split. Like people either love it or hate it. And like my perspective on everything is if you can get people to the parks or outdoors in general, like why are you complaining about it?
Yeah, I see. I love
like
that.
It's so awesome
that
to get
treehouse.
there.
That's the interesting thing. That the treehouse village and that property itself is a really good example of what the Metroparks does. So we have an 80-20 split, meaning no matter what property or acreage we steward, we will never activate more than 20% of it. And we actually don't get anywhere close to 20%, with the exception of river parks because it takes up so much space, and the nightmare that Dave Zink impeded on their parking lot at Benview. But I think that's a different...
it's a beautiful parking lot.
Yeah, it's the best one in the system. We hear it all the time from Dave. But you know, that space is 500 acres, so it's about roughly the size of Wildwood. The part that we've activated is about the size of the manor house, so about 30,000 square feet.
Are you talking about Beach Ridge? Okay.
So that is the wheelhouse, the single track training space there, and the Treehouse Village itself. It's a pretty small, contained unit. People are always like, I guess the people who are pro Treehouse are like, oh, you should build more of these. And that's not what we're about. Again, it's a responsible activation of the space. We're not going to jam more in there. I can say with total confidence ever. That space is as activated as it's going to be, and the rest of the real 90% of it is going to be reforested and returned to how it was originally.
When you think about it, any other, like a state park, they have lodges and buildings. Like,
Sure.
what's the difference? This one's just really cool. It's a giant tree house. Like,
Right.
I think it's great. I mean, if people have somewhere else to stay besides a hotel, or
Yeah.
they come to visit
Right.
the region,
Totally.
it's amazing.
Right.
You're in the middle of the woods.
It does represent change, and
that's always scary.
not unlike other things that Ashley's team is doing specifically. People are going to say there'll be naysayers, right? Teaching people how to climb a tree. There was naysayers in that. She won a national award for it. It is amazing, and some of the stuff you do isn't for everybody. But one thing I can say with confidence is we vet all these things in terms of the responsible stewardship of the land. The rest of it is for people or it's not. And that's how we make those decisions.
Well, I mean, as you probably really understand, peddling media all the time, you're always going to have, there's always people that are just like, oh, that's stupid. Like, okay, well, you do something then.
Yeah.
Go ahead, knock yourself out.
Yeah.
Go build your own treehouse. Like, have fun,
sure.
man. Like,
Right.
all day long.
WWF Raw is still going to come on. You can enjoy it in the confines of your own home.
One thing,
And I do.
I don't understand that reference.
it's not to be understood.
I thought this was a wrestling show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
wait till I pull out the leotard and
Yeah.
start just
Yeah.
power bombing people.
All of this is I'm wearing is tearaway. So,
I love it.
yeah.
So my big kick I've been on for the last 2 or 3 years is the Maumee River. I have a huge vendetta against everyone who refuses to acknowledge that this river exists, and they refuse to go out on it. And I literally get like visibly upset when people
You are
say,
now.
"Yeah, I'm red. I'm
Yeah.
about to punch the window."
Yeah.
That
That's where the wrestling
they'll
starts.
never touch that river. This is going to be a wrestling
gonna be
podcast.
amazing.
You know?
Yeah.
But you guys have put in so much effort, and like all the park districts in the area have put in so much effort to get people
Agreed.
on the river, and
Yeah.
people, I still talk to people that will not even like, nope, not even going to touch it. I'm like,
Right.
I'm going to dunk you in
Yeah.
the river. I'm
Right.
going to power
'Cause they
bomb
think
you,
it's
wrestle
dirty.
you into the river.
Sure.
Well, it's
More
by
wrestling.
Yeah, thank
definition,
you.
it's technically dirty because there's dirt in it.
Yeah.
But like,
Because it's muddy. It's
Right.
so is
sediment.
the
Shallow.
75% of the land surrounding it is dirt. So I mean, I don't know what this is like more on a personal level.
Yeah.
What can we do as general people, the outdoors industry professionals, if you want to say, to get people not so scared of the river? Like, I'm out of tactics. I literally
Sure.
kayaked the whole thing just to prove I wouldn't die, and
Yeah.
it was fine. Like,
So
I'm-
the threatening to dunk them in the river, that was not an effective.
I haven't gotten that far
My
yet.
man.
That's my last ditch effort.
Yeah.
Start dunking them. So what? You're already putting them in boats and going around, and
Right.
it's just
I
such
think
a bummer. to me.
there's a couple things to this.
Well, I think it's just a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the people that get curious enough to want to come on a, like a tour, an eco tour with us, or to do, to rent some of the kayaks out at
Sure.
the Farnsworth boat launch. Just a little bit at a time, a little bit of education, a little piece here and there that, they'll take away. If that's the only thing they took away is that they didn't get a rash or die from the
Yeah.
Maumee River or something. Like, I think that's what people
Those are the
think.
2 boxes I check for whether I've had a good time.
Rash.
If I have a
Didn't-
rash, not a
Okay,
good
clear,
time.
check.
Right? Didn't die. Yeah.
So
Nailed it. Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's such a beautiful resource,
Right.
and as someone who never went on the river until I started working at the parks, and then thereafter, just so amazed by the river. Like, I
Yeah.
literally go to different places, paddle around different islands, and yeah, the water's brown. Okay, like if you can get over that, there's so much out
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple things, and I'd love to talk about the pool portion of what you guys did this year too, Ash. But there's a lot of things that make up that framework. My dad is not an outdoors guy. His dad wasn't. They were all city people. Our area was inhabited based on the river, and there's a lot of industrial legacy there that has been left over, so people can't get to it. So that's one of the things from a downtown perspective, like downtown Toledo. There'll be a cultural divide here because there'll be generations and generations of people. Some 3-generation households, not only have they not been in the water, they can't get to it, and it's about 100 yards from the house they lived in again for 100 years. So there are parts of that, and I think it's not that different than the things that you two have talked about. Not unlike yourselves, right? There was a small sort of gateway experience or a step up to being interested in the water or going in for the first time. Being with people who are knowledgeable and approachable is important. But actually, I think one of the things that we hit on this year, based on you and Shan's leadership, is bringing kayaks to swimming pools. So again,
That's cool.
with instructors from the Boys and Girls Club, people they've seen before, when these are new faces, asking them to do things that they're not comfortable with. So kids from all over the place learn from our really approachable people, Amanda being one of them, who is earnest. I mean, she wears it.
Yeah.
She could convince you to do anything.
Amanda, this isn't even like a joke. Amanda is the hands down nicest person I've met
Exactly.
in ever.
Yeah.
30 years on Earth.
Right.
She's the only person I've never heard say anything bad about anyone.
Yeah.
Ever.
All right.
In my life.
She's a closeted
I've tried to
monster,
get her.
Paul. There's so much we can tell you right now. It's all a charade.
Dude, I
She
spent
is a
with
nightmare.
days with her on
Sure.
the river.
Yeah.
And she was the nicest.
She's
she was
probably
the only-
poisoning you.
She's jovial to the point
Absolutely.
of anger.
Yeah. Right.
Like, how are you this happy right
That's
now?
right. Yes.
But not to deviate, but I just had to throw that out.
Yeah.
She agreed to come on this podcast too, so we'll see how that goes.
Sure.
Oh,
Well,
good.
especially
I
now.
can't wait.
Yeah.
We'll bring you and her.
Yeah.
Bring
All wrestling themed.
wrestling.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she'll love it.
I would be more than happy.
But I do think we have an approachable group. Again, we have strong leadership in that space and people who understand that you have to build a level of trust because the water hasn't always been a part of everyone's lives.
Right, and a lot of times dark water scares people.
That's a good point.
And if people can't swim, that would be scary too.
Sure.
Swimming is always a plus, but you don't have to know how to swim to paddle with us. So it is nice and approachable when we can bring the kayaks in the pools, and I'm hoping that we can do that a little bit more and more as we gain partnerships and
Right.
access into these areas.
Well, I think one of the most valuable things I took away from my time at the parks was the safety training on the river or on the water.
Totally. Yeah.
I would have probably been okay, but
Sure.
to learn how to get back in a boat,
Yeah.
self-rescue,
Totally.
or the basics of what to do.
Sure.
And granted, the Maumee is a fairly docile river, if all things
Yeah.
considered. I mean, we have some
Except in
rapids,
May.
except
Right.
in May.
May is pretty crazy, which is when you guys went.
Yeah.
That's what, yeah. we
Yeah.
did
And when,
And
Amanda,
that's when
and
a lot
when
of
Amanda's
people
out
end
there
up-
purposely trying to sink people because she's a monster.
Yeah.
Your words, Paul.
I've been there.
Yeah.
I've been there.
But that's when a lot of people end up going because it starts to get a little bit warm and people go out in their cut off t-shirts and their jean shorts.
I'm in so far. Yeah.
Jorts.
It's checking a lot of boxes.
Shorts
Yeah.
in the summer.
And
Yeah.
no,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not summer yet though.
Yeah.
It's May and the water is freezing
Yeah, but
cold.
we're coming out of 18-degree winters, so
Right.
it feels
Those jean
like
shorts
summer.
aren't wearing themselves.
It feels like summer, sure, but that's when people die, Paul.
Ashley's actually wearing jean shorts right now.
Yeah, right. And they're mine. You're welcome. Yeah. Well, I couldn't wear it over my wrestling suit.
You're killing me over here. I'm gonna start crying on my microphone.
That's what Amanda would want.
I gotta catch my breath. Okay. I'm sorry, we got a little off track.
Yes, we
We
did.
get a Jort session. So the safety training was amazing.
Right.
And I really hope that anybody that does anything on the river at least takes a bare bones
Right.
Sure.
safety course.
It's kind of like now that you know, it's like, holy crap, how do people get away with surviving and not knowing this sort of
Well, and I
stuff?
see people out on the river, in the summertime, and they got those $150 Walmart kayaks, and
Sure.
it just gives me anxiety to watch.
Right.
And you guys have nice gear. This isn't just some
Right.
stuff you're pulling off the shelf. You guys have nice.
I think that's some of the layered programming, though. So I'll take myself, for instance, our sessions when you're sort of taught what to buy and how to prepare for a trip is invaluable information. Like fools, a few years ago, we went hiking in Vermont. We had been out all night the night before, and we packed very little water, had no idea where we were going. I kid you not, we ran the Uber driver who dropped us off at the summit of the tallest hill probably in Vermont was like, this is a terrible idea, and these are the 5 things that you guys need to do immediately. So, I mean, I there's some, to be consistent here, I've been guilty of that as well. And people, you have to make it approachable for people to ask questions too and not feel foolish.
Totally.
I think you guys do a great job of that.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we're almost at an hour here. I don't know how much time you guys have. I'll go all day. But I don't want to keep you here any longer than you want to be. But something that
1 hour too late.
Okay, yes, you got it. Point taken. One of the things that I really pushed for when we started was the backpacking stuff. That's my background. And I was like super stoked about it. You let me guide with a staff, Amanda, basically, a backpacking trip for the parks when I was just basically just started. So much fun. And
Don't worry, we trained him.
Yeah.
Sure. Public service announcement.
Well, we can say that, I guess, if you want to.
We can edit a lot of this stuff out.
But now you guys have evolved to going on like full-blown mountain backpacking trips. So how did that happen? That's so awesome.
Yeah, I think it was just a lot of it came from Kim Caseman, and then Amanda had a little bit of. She was a novice at that stuff. You know, she had a little bit of training and experience under her belt, but more than anything, she just loved it, and just wanted to keep going and keep going. And so Kim and Amanda approached me and was like really crossing their fingers, really thinking that this was going to be a no-go. They were like, what do you think about maybe doing an Appalachian Trail backpack trip? And I was like, sure, let's try it. And they were like, really? Can we? Okay. So, I mean, that's really how it went. It was like, let's try it and see how it goes. We filled it. It was waitlisted. And then just this next year, so we just did our 2019 trip in October, and that was our second one that we've done. And we filled 2 trips. So we had a northbound route and a southbound route.
Nice.
We swapped keys in the middle. And it was a super successful trip that sold out. We had like 15 spots and it sold out in like 2 weeks. So we opened it in January and we weren't even leaving until October. We're going to do a very similar thing this January, but we have an extra surprise coming down.
Well, it's so awesome because that's not something that you think to do around here.
Right.
Backpacking.
Right.
It's always kind of like it'd be cool to do that someday, but a lot of people don't want to invest in the gear. It's a big upfront cost. There's not really that many places to do it.
Sure.
And I'm a huge proponent for people backpacking at Oak Openings. It's like a pretty long. You can do it overnighter for like an intro. And that's where you guys run your intro backpacking. It's like perfect. That's where I train to through hike, and that's where I train to do all this stuff. So like, it's perfect, and
beautiful,
and there's no danger. There's a road every couple miles where you can pop out and be like, I'm lost. I don't want to do this anymore.
Sure.
Call the ranger. And it's so cool to see that evolve, and that's what I'm saying. Like, just every time I turn around, you guys are doing something new.
Totally.
And I'm just like,
it's real purposeful progression, though. I think you mentioned it, Paul. Like the programmers write things from an entry-level perspective, and then you can ascend into any place you want. If you start it and hate it, you obviously are done, or you start it and you love it, and now you want to buy your own stuff and do it all on your own. That's a win for us. But there is a way for you to plug all the way into, this is the gear you want, this is how you do it, to an overnight trip.
Totally.
Which is a real evolution, and we couldn't be more proud of them as a park system, because there should be a way to plug in all the way down the path if you want.
Right, and actually the majority of the people that we took this year, I mean, they were on the older side of our age group. Our average
like my
age. Yeah.
Sure, it's fair.
No, their average age was like 55 for our trip. For like 15 people, the average age was 55. We had 3 people that were 70.
And almost everyone made it back.
Except for that one guy.
So that's so great.
We don't know what happened to him.
Everyone made it back, and they loved it. These older people that were like, that was the hardest and worst thing that I've ever done in my life.
Right.
But I loved every moment of it, especially now that they were done, and they're going to do it again.
Is Matt, you going to go out there with them next year?
Actually, working with Ashley is the worst thing that I've ever. So
I'm going to make him carry a backpack for our wintering.
So I don't think I need that experience in another state. I get to live it
fair enough.
twice a week.
I'm not going to comment on that.
Yeah.
But
So,
oh wow, you guys did not tell me what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
I should have like.
you would have had us.
Oh, no, absolutely not. No, I should have been a little weary at the quick response to that. You guys want to come on the podcast? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally, no one else would have us.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul.
Well, you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah.
It's one little last thing. Well, they'll probably devolve into more than that, but I know you guys are doing this huge new river park thing.
Yeah.
I personally have done zero research on it.
Excellent.
I know it exists.
Sure.
And I know it started.
Yeah.
What is the kind of ambiance of this thing? Like, what's the big plan of this park? I'm pretty stoked. Every time you guys announce a new park, I'm like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's great.
Yep.
Well, there's a couple things this year, both equally exciting for me for a couple of reasons. One of which is the opening of Manhattan Marsh, which should be in September. Manhattan Marsh represents us closing on a promise of a park within 5 miles of every Lucas County resident, which is a tremendous thing that we've been able to do.
so that's the final key in the hole for that.
That's it, yeah.
Beautiful.
So to double down on that, I'm a TPS kid, and this park is right behind a STEM academy. So we are literally bringing a life and living lab to school kids who are interested in that sort of curriculum. So that's thrilling to us. That's a very exciting project. The second one, I think, has gotten a little more fanfare potentially. It is cutting a ribbon and starting construction on a site that has already had 5 ribbon cuttings in the last 2 decades. So that's another promise that we're able to fulfill that we're really excited about. That is phase 1. They're turning earth as we speak. So there'll be a large pavilion, a glass pavilion that we're really excited about. There'll be a sledding hill, a kayak cove. So some exciting amenities. Sort of phase 1 there is something we're really amped about. Phase 2 is sort of still in the discovery and the dreaming phase, if you will. And we're working diligently on that. Emily Ziegler and her team are incredible. Sort of answering the call of the community, wondering what they want for, and connecting the east side with us on the other side of the river, as we are so proud to do. So it's a really exciting project. We expect to have a couple million visits there annually, so it will be the largest visited park in our park district. Wildwood right now has 1.3 million, which is a staggering number. But
That's a lot of people.
The park itself is a pretty sexy project, admittedly, but it really checks the boxes that the two of you have been talking about this whole time. So having soft access to the river where it's never been before, giving us an opportunity to change some of the infrastructure down there, connective trails, things of that variety, connecting to the neighborhoods that right now you'd have to walk 2 miles down and 1 mile back to have any access to the riverfront.
I don't think we've actually said it, but this is Glass City Metropark.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, the thing
That should be marketing.
Nice.
Yeah.
The thing that I was going to ask you about is the kayak access, because there's like nothing on that side of the river really for a long while, and that's what I'm most excited for, because I live in Swan. I don't get out that part of town very often, out downtown, but it was just like when Middle Grounds was launched, that kayak. I mean, that saved our butts when we were doing the Fort Support. We pulled in there. We could take a break. It's right before that little final push, and it's just like, this is great to have. If that wasn't there, where are we going to pull off at the launch for what's that boat down there that takes everybody to cruise?
Yeah, you can't.
There's like
it's
nowhere
a
to get
high
out.
dock entry.
Yeah. Or independent, or what's that?
The
docks.
International Park?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've launched from there when we did some training once, and that wasn't that great either.
I bet not. Yeah. It'd be challenging today.
Have to fight the geese off.
So you guys have any big plans coming up besides those parks? You got any programs coming up that you're launching, or you got any big news about Expo or anything for next year?
Totally. Outdoor Expo it's going to be May 23rd this year at Sidecut Metropark, just like normal.
Every year.
Yeah, and it's always so fun, and again, it's free, so super accessible. Something that's exciting to me about it this year is it's going to be inclusive, which it always has been, but I think Matt's going to help us market it as inclusive.
Okay.
So that we can help reach those that might not think that they would be able to participate in our programs, or do some of the things that they're able to do outside. I remember one year, Ruth, our special events manager, talked to a woman that said, "Oh my gosh, my son is autistic. You mean I can bring him out here and he can paddle a canoe with his brother?" And we were like, "Yeah, that's something we do all the time." And she was in tears because that's something that she didn't think was possible. And so, that's just one simple example of how we can be inclusive. But we can also, I mean, we've been American Canoe Association trained to be able to make paddle sport adaptations. And we have a lot of techniques for tree climbing that anybody can get up in a tree. Like we can hoist somebody that has zero mobility so that they can at least have the experience of being up in a tree. But we can also, if you can't climb with your legs, we are going to be able to have some of those ways to be able to get up in a tree by yourself and have that experience on your own. So basically, we can do that all the time, anywhere. We just need to know in advance. So I just need somebody to tell me what sort of adaptation they would need, and we can make that happen. So that's one really exciting thing about the Outdoor Expo is that we're going to market it as inclusive. It's always been inclusive, but it will be all inclusive for any ability.
And I think I've been to every expo that you've had. And it's just such a fun day. Like I take my little nieces and nephews out and we go throw axes and play games and they just love it. And these kids aren't outdoors kids. They're just like kids. They don't care. They can care less, but it's another avenue of what we were talking about earlier where anything to get people outside, but it is actually fun stuff.
It's a safe place to try.
Yeah, it's a place to try it. You can try it for free, and then you can come back to any of our programs if that's something that is exciting for you. But we always get moms and dads and grandparents and whoever else to approach us and say like, oh my gosh, my kid has been alive for 8 years, but he's done more today than he has in his whole life, which is so cool. But also like just come back and spend more time in the parks. And so it makes my heart like go out to them. But then at the end of the summer, what the other thing that I really want to plug, because it's my favorite thing.
See, I called this early.
That we do.
Yeah, right.
It's my favorite thing that we do is this thing. Instead of having a 2-day outdoor expo, which is what was suggested because it's so popular, we said, no, we have to do this thing at the end of the summer that we're calling the Outdoor Challenge. So
I heard about this.
Yeah, the Outdoor Challenge. We started it last year, and it was, a first-year event, so it's still building, and we got all the kinks out already. So this year, it's going to be perfect. And so you try it at the Outdoor Expo, and then you come back during the summer, kind of hone your skills, try things again, get better at them, and at the end of the summer, you do it all in this challenge. And so it's kind of like an Amazing Race type deal, where you run around as a team and you collect points, and then you bring all your points back and we count them up, and whoever gets the most points wins. And you get to try all the same stuff: archery,
that's awesome.
Canoeing, kayaking, tree climbing, all that stuff.
Okay, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you each one question. I'll start with Matt. Yeah, I think you already touched this, so it's not that fair, but if there's a ton of parks now.
Yeah, sure.
Favorite part, hands down. I know it's like naming your favorite child, but...
Yeah, I could do that right now. I don't care for one of them. That's for sure. She is a vacuous little beast.
Hold on, I'm going to die real quick.
You can edit that out, right?
No. You can't, actually.
Pardon me. It is Wildwood for me, for sure. It meant a lot to me growing up, as we've talked about, but it's a place where people I love and care about have plugged in also, and it has been medicinal for a lot of people's lives who I care about. So geographically, that's my park, based on always living around it. So it's Wildwood.
It's a great park. I mean, Wildwood's like the quintessential Metro Park. It's the most popular one because it's got all the original stuff there that people go do. That's got the big playground. Right. I remember it as a kid.
Sure.
The giant playground.
Yeah.
Is like sold at the Manor House, the Christmas thing. I'm sure you guys are in like full swing with that right now, being that it's like 2 days from Christmas.
Right. We can't get enough of that Manor House experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I already think I know which park you're going to say.
What do you think?
Oak Opening.
Benview.
Benview. I do love Benview.
It is a cool park.
Yeah, that shelter lot.
Yeah.
The parking lot. The shelter that overlooks the actual bend in the river is amazing.
Agreed.
It's amazing.
If people went there and like they did the spot and took photos of that big bend, it would be it's cooler in my opinion.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's Oak Openings. I mean, I grew up right next to that. I didn't go a ton, but it looked just like my backyard. But more than anything, I spent so much time running on those trails and just like no headphones. I don't do headphones when I'm running
For safety?
No, just on the trail because you get to experience nature. And you will miss so much. I would do so much birding while I was running.
And Matt has left the room.
Yeah. I wear headphones at my desk so I don't have to listen to this.
Turtling.
Yeah. Okay, turtling's not a thing.
For Amanda, because she loves turtles.
Yeah.
And smashing them.
Frogging.
I like to.
Okay. We're making things up. Frogging.
There's so much that you would see, though. So I would do like marathon training out there. And back when I did those things.
Sure.
And then I would
So
go
why do you
visit
hate yourself so much?
friends. I would go visit friends in Columbus and be like, okay,
you would
let's
run
go
there?
for a trail run.
Yeah.
And we would run at the like High Banks Metroparks or whatever,
Yeah.
where the trails are like wider than roads are.
Mm-hmm.
And there I saw zero wildlife while I was there on
Right.
a really long run. Zero wildlife. And I'm like, I could go in 5 minutes see more wildlife at one of our Metroparks.
I just want you to admit that turtling isn't a real word.
It's not a real word.
Yeah,
no.
okay. Right, now we got to the bottom of it.
I just wanted to reiterate that
You
there's
can't just put
more
an
wildlife
ING next to an
besides
animal's name and have it be like
birds.
active. Yeah.
Badgering.
Yeah, see?
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Oh,
Gophering.
great.
Yeah.
Raccooning.
No, I went narwhaling. Unfortunately, whaling is a thing.
I think that's illegal, but
Yeah, that's for a different show.
yeah, on that note, I would really like to thank you guys for coming
thank
out.
you.
It's been
Yeah,
a blast.
thanks, Paul.
And I hope to get you guys back again. This was I almost peed my pants laughing.
Yeah, I did.
Well,
Yeah, I can tell. But
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you guys
Thanks, Paul.
soon. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to catch more Aptitude Outdoors, hit that subscribe button. We're coming at you with a ton more podcasts and shows, and we're super stoked that you're along for the ride. So, peace out.